everybody. Say hello. Who are you?
I'm Sarah Kellyson. I'm from Canada, and I'm a music artist, but also actress as well.
Whereabouts are you from in Canada?
Calgary, Alberta, so more on the west coast side, in the
Hmm.
middle of, but more like mid-west coast, in the middle of the country in a way. So it's very
Happy,
cold here.
happy to be there. How is life in Canada at the moment?
It's very cold. That's what I have to say, because we've been getting like blizzards non-stop, and I just don't want to go outside, truthfully, half the time.
So your heating's on quite a bit now, is it, in your house?
Yeah, the heat's cranked up all the way, so I'm
I don't know
keeping
what
it that
heating.
way, and I'm
I don't
wrapped
know
in
what heating
blankets
feels like.
usually.
Yeah, I'm in the back end of the kitchen at the moment, and I can feel the breeze coming through this window here.
Oh,
So I'm going to be an ice cube
oh my God,
once
that's the
once it's
worst.
over. Oh, don't worry about it. I'll keep myself warm during the interview. So this has been planned for such a long time, hasn't it? Let's say 3 or 4 months since
Three
you've.
or four
Did,
months,
did you did you email me
maybe
or did I email you? I can't remember which way it went.
I emailed you because I was introduced to you through someone else, mutual friend. So
Yes, and because you were in his film recently,
yeah,
Knock,
knock,
which I
yes.
which I enjoyed. I enjoyed your performance.
Oh yay! Oh my God, thank you so much. We
It's
worked
it's
really
it's not
hard.
easy. It's not easy to do that, is it?
No, no, that was very like. It's actually funny because I only had like one setting the entire time. I was, like, sitting down, and I was sitting down for the longest time, and you wouldn't and it was on, like, a cold, hard floor, it wasn't on, like so it was, like, I was sitting in a certain position where it's, like, you're sitting with your legs up, and
Hmm.
I had to sit there for hours, and I was, like, actually getting, like, super sore afterwards, like, I would have to, like, stretch afterwards, but it was a super fun film to do, it was very I found, like, Mike to be very open about things and stuff, and it
Yeah.
was really exciting to venture off into more of a horror genre because 'cause I've always wanted to do more of that stuff because before I did more comedy and everything, that was my main thing, but, I only did, like, one guest spot on another web series years ago called Whispers of Death as a
Ooh,
villain
okay.
horror character, and that was super fun, and I was like, "Oh my God, I love that so much." So I wanted to do so it was cool to dive into that more.
Are you going to do more? Because I know we're going to touch on music in a minute, but is because looking at your back history, you are predominantly an actor, aren't you? That's what you do.
Yeah, that's what I started in. Like, I started doing that at, like, the age of 12, and I worked with an acting coach from LA years ago, and then I eventually, did my own web series with a friend, someone who I used to be friends with, for a while. I was on a virtual collab show called Arctic, and
Oh, I've
Diaries
heard
of
of
a
that.
Velvet Bedroom, and then I went on Arctic afterwards, and I did that for a while. So I was always playing like lead roles, and those were more comedy, vibrant shows. So I was used to doing
Ah,
that sort of thing, which those were fun and everything as well.
yeah.
And I have no issue doing that as well. I think it was fun, but yeah, that was pretty much, and I did that for like 10 years, I would say about.
And
So
so when you started out as an actor, what did you do first? Did you do theatre, or did you get straight into the filming gigs of like extra work, or did you do bit parts? Where was your starting point? Where did you begin?
I I think, like, I started, like, just, like, taking acting classes, so more theater type
Yeah.
work and stuff, and that was, like, the only thing I was good at in, like, school, really.
I'm sure
So,
that's not the case. I'm sure that's not the case.
it really was, like, everything my grade was so strong in that I was like, "Yeah, that was amazing." So, I started there, and then I did some extra work and tried to get more in that, and I wanted to do work in LA, but that was really hard considering I am not of the standard casting that they are looking for there. So
Right.
the person that I work with, um, who is someone I knew, who put me in all these web series, we just worked off that because he wanted to build his own channel of like collaborations and stuff and meeting more actors. And so through that, um, I just began doing like web series type acting.
Yeah. I'm assuming you don't do that anymore, and acting is sort of taking more of a back seat to your music. What's the current thing?
I wouldn't say so, like, maybe at the moment, but, I'm definitely gonna be doing more acting going forward. I'm actually working with a friend who actually he was the executive producer of my album, actually. She's a sound artist herself, and her
Wow.
and I
Okay.
have been working on something we're working on a production company pretty much together, an independent one. So we're coming up with film ideas and stuff like that, that I
Yeah.
can't say too much about right now, but we are gonna there's definitely films down the road, that I'm planning to do that we're talking about and outlining at the moment, but I am also doing music as well. So I
Yeah.
like to do everything, you know. I don't like
Well,
to
I can
just do
tell.
one thing.
I can tell because you seem to. I mean, for me, I have to have a focus or some sort of drive to do something in particular. I'm very linear in that way.
Hmm.
And acting wise, I was feeling frustrated with the industry the way it was going. It felt like I had to sort of change who I was to be something else. And for
Yes.
me, it was just by chance I started to talk to people like what we're doing now, and I had a real buzz for that and a passion for listening to people's stories and just connecting to people that way. And now I help people to reach their potential. I get more satisfaction from that, really. But
Yeah.
I imagine that you can't really pin an emotion on either acting or music. I think you must have a dual love for both. Do you
Yeah,
reckon?
definitely. Yeah, I love playing a character, and I think both offer that in some way.
Yeah,
And like you said, there is like a it's very satisfying to help others as well. Like, I'm very much an advocate for young talent. Nobody really knows that, or just local talent in general. Like, that's why I'm making my own like production companies too, because there's so many talented people that get unrecognized, I find.
yeah,
So
yeah.
it's really nice to see like other people, you know, grow and stuff. And I'm like, I've had my foot in for so many years that I'd like to give back to that more, and I'd like to help people who are new to the industry that maybe like, because I know it's like very intimidating to get into it,
Oh yeah,
but
definitely.
you know, like, but I've taken all the steps possible, and I've been in all different areas of it that I understand it, and I know how to get my foot in the door.
And it's not only that; it's you know what the pressure is like, either by being a musician or by being an actor. That seeing a script, knowing the pressure of that building to deliver that script or to deliver that performance. You've been there, not your first rodeo. You've been there, and you know it. And
Yeah,
it's imparting that wisdom on others. That's so crucial sometimes, isn't it? Because we're not all taught really how to do it. We have to wing it at the beginning, and it's a tough
yeah.
road, isn't it?
I feel like it's actually that's such a good point because actually you have to wing it throughout. I think even if you're up here or down here, you're always gonna wing it no matter what. Because there are situations where I've seen people who are up here
Yeah,
with it that where they've had to like do it on the spot. They had to like just, you know, improv in a way. And it is I did find it as more, I guess, like as a child actor to be stressful in a sense. I had a
yeah,
lot of restrictions early on in the beginning. My friend wanted to build more of like a kids teen type channel, so it had to be age appropriate in a
yeah,
way, and that was how it was like with that show. So there were times where I felt very like restricted, and I had to play the image that he wanted more so, and I eventually believed I was that image at some point.
that's
But
tough.
it is tough because it messes with your psyche in a way, in a lot of ways. So
And at such a
um,
young age too, when you're sort of learning about yourself too. So then you've got the added pressure of conforming as well, even in that
yeah,
motion of in something you love to do, you're still conforming a little bit to that idea, and it's not what you do in
absolutely.
this world. You're supposed to be completely open to yourself and your creativity, aren't you?
Yeah, well, like, even, like, as a teenager, like, I realized, like, I felt so different from everyone else in many different ways, but especially in that where I did, like, acting as a thing outside, whereas, like, certain kids would, like, go out and play, I would be more so just working on web series and things like that instead. But but when you're, like, in front of the camera for so, like, long and stuff playing a certain character, you don't you honestly, like, there are times where I'm like, I don't even know who I am, like, right now. And when I
Ooh, so
departed from
you get lost in the performance itself.
you
You
get
become,
lost because you don't know who you are, and that's what it becomes, I find in some ways.
yeah.
And I mainly had that struggle, when I departed from Arctic 2 years ago and departed from that production company in general. I realized, like, who am I? Like, and I really had to do some self-discovery with that
Mm.
and just figuring that out about what I really wanna do, and I think that was the first time ever where I really, um, asked myself that.
Some people never ask themselves that question. Do you repeat doing a vicious circle? Do they keep repeating the same problems and mistakes that get them back to square one? And self-evaluation is key, especially in creative industry. And I imagine that when it comes to making each album as well, you dig deeper and then deeper and then deeper, trying to say something. I mean, so talk to me about your latest album, because this is the fourth, if I
Yeah,
remember right. So that
yeah.
me, you mentioned that you've been doing this for 5 years, music, right?
Yeah, I would say so, like, as my, like, independent artist, but we did music on Arctic, so we did
Yes.
stuff. So I started there with it, and then I started doing my own work with Dracoloid on that sort of stuff as well, and they kind of pushed me into that, and I at first wasn't sure about it because it was pop music. I actually wanted to do rock music, but they were, like, pushing for pop because there was no demographic for rock in America at that particular time, 5
Right.
years ago. So, because it's all about in North America, it's all about, like, trends and stuff, and that's
Yeah.
how pop music worked in a way. And
Yeah.
that's how the previous albums were like in a way. Um, they were very like trend chasing, whereas this one I'm doing is probably my most hands-on work I've done for an album ever.
Yeah.
And I got to work. It made a difference because I was working with a female executive producer instead of a male executive producer, which the dynamic is miles different then.
Yeah. Yeah.
so
Of
I
course.
gotta be so I gotta be more like vulnerable, I felt, with this one, and I gotta be more personal with it in a lot of ways.
Yeah. I mean, I had because you provided me with some examples and some of the tracks to listen to, and there's a couple that stick out to me. Visions of You. I really
Mm,
love that one. It's foot tapping stuff, and it's good listening. It's something that I could put on and just kick back and either read a book, or I could get up and dance. There's variations there what you can do with that album and the music that you do. I mean, how would you describe it? What's the closest link to the current trends and the genres? I mean, for me, it reminds me of Pet Shop Boys a little bit. Do you know
oh,
the
I
Pet
love
Shop
Pet
Boys?
Shop Boys. I love Pet
Yeah.
Shop Boys.
The sound, and I love it when you sort of talk the lyric and you whisper the lyric. I love that little bit of nuance you put into each lyric. So tell me about I say it's a cliche question about the inspiration, but tell me about where your music is coming from based on your current circumstances, and how it came to be. Do you write the songs, and yeah, go for a bit.
Yeah, I do write the songs, especially for this album particularly, and I think with this one I was trying to find more of my style in a way.
Yeah,
I actually do love Pet Shop Boys, and they have many songs that I have been influenced by.
yeah.
But I love Kylie Minogue.
Oh
She's
yes.
someone that's I know in the UK she's very big there. Whenever I talk to an
Oh,
American
she's actually
interviewer,
quite petite.
I whenever I talk to like an American interviewer, they don't know what I'm talking about, but when I talk to someone from across the board, they know exactly who I'm talking
They
about.
must know
So
that song. I can't get you out
they
of
know
my
that
head.
song. They know that
Yeah, they
song,
must know that. She's
but they
actually
don't know
really
her.
good looking in real life. She's so
Did
pretty.
you see her?
Uh,
Did you see her?
yeah, met her. I met her at the Top of the Pop Awards, which is a big awards show. I was about 17 when I met her, though, and she had the
Wow.
most gorgeous legs, and she was so nice and smiley Kylie. But
Yeah.
she's one of those artists that you underappreciate, I reckon. She's quite good at what she does.
Yeah, like, I'm very, like, inspired by, like, her career in general, like, um, I grew up with, like, Madonna, Michael Jackson, Prince, Britney Spears. I was inspired by
Prince.
them, but Prince is amazing. But
Yeah.
Kylie is someone who I would love to model like my own career after, because
Oh, interesting.
she just knows how to do like a show really well. And
Yeah.
I think she's one of the pop stars that have managed to, she knows who she is, and she's not trying to like push you in a direction where it's not her and it doesn't look
Yes.
too try hard, you know? And that's what I've always appreciated about her, her work
Yeah.
from the past and her work currently. So I hope to eventually become an artist that
Because
is
that's the
like
thing.
that.
People always look at Madonna for reinvention and the way she went through genres and tried things
Yeah,
out. But with Kylie, you sort of it's more subtle than that. It's like
yeah,
I like the song, Slow. And it's
yeah,
just like,
slow body language.
how's it going out? Dun, 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 dun. And it's in a way it's the same with your intros to your songs. There's a nice bit at the beginning where it feeds you into the song. You can feel it just building the momentum, and it's the same for
Yeah,
hers. There's a momentum building, and you're gagging to get to the to the words and the expressions. So it's interesting you say about Kylie because she has gone from strength to strength, and I haven't heard much about her. What she been up to recently? I don't know.
I know. Well, she's done like her disco album recently, but which that I love that album. But I do like her. I'm more big into like her '90s, 2000s type of work. That's what inspired me most. Like I love her Impossible Princess album, which I know is like criminally underrated album, but
Yeah,
and it was very like it was very controversial for her just because that imagery was so different. But I don't think that was ever too try hard even then.
no,
I
no,
feel
yeah.
it was still her. It was just her reinventing herself, but not in a way where it's like pushing it so much that it's
It's not in
like
your face, is it? It's not in your face.
it's not in your face.
It always feels
It's
welcome.
palatable.
It never feels like she's trying to scream for attention. She's just doing what she's doing. Um,
Exactly.
I don't know if you've ever heard the song which she sang over the rainbow at a live gig once,
Oh yeah, at
and
the Showgirls.
she's it's so beautiful. Her voice actually really works with that song. I haven't got it anymore because I put it on Apple, deleted the original
Yeah.
track, and then they took it off me. So
Oh
I
my
don't
god,
have it. I don't
that's
have it
hilarious.
anymore. I know, but there's a lot of good songs. I might have to go and listen to it now. You've done it. You've done it. I had to go and have a look at the album again because I grew up with Kylie in the '90s
I
when
could see that.
I was young and when she came back, with spinning around and the other songs like Slow and that, it
Yeah.
was such a good time to be a Kylie fan. I reckon.
Yeah, definitely. Well, that's when she got more popular in North America. She
Yeah,
was only known for like Locomotion prior, but like then she came back, and I feel that's where I'm at in a way where I've went away, even though it's been 5 years time. The past year gap, I was kind of completely off the radar, and I
yeah.
feel I had to do that in a way in order to reinvent myself and just come back as like a new artist in a way, because the work I'm doing now is way different than what I did previously, and I
Which
feel
is
it's more
always
of an evolved self.
Yeah, because we were talking about conforming and fitting into a mold or whatever, but you certainly don't fit into any mold. You're very much like exactly who you need to be, and you feel more comfortable and you feel sort of alive. Has there been an awakening for you in the past 4 or 5 years since you've been started music? Of how's that journey been for you in making your own stuff?
Well, there's been a lot of like if we're talking about the total of like 5 years with all
Yeah,
the music I've done, I
yeah,
would say there's been bumps in the road. Like there was a lot of learning that I think I've learned, and a lot of lessons I learned with each project I've done.
mm,
I think with this one, it actually took the longest time because what is funny about this current album that I'm releasing, it was actually been in the works for about 3 years prior. How it was going to be on the previous label I was with. There was a whole different version of this album before, and it was not like some of the songs were recorded back in 2019, 2020, and it was with a
Oh.
different executive producer too, and it had a different vision to it and everything. And there's a bunch of unreleased tracks for this album that nobody
Well,
will ever
there
know.
always is. There always is, though, isn't there? There's
There
always a
always
back
is,
catalogue
but like,
somewhere.
but there's like an entire different like concept and everything for this album because it was finished actually right before COVID. This
Yeah, I was
album,
going to say that. Did you delay it for that reason, or did you just think it wasn't ready?
yeah, yeah, and that's where there was a bit of a dispute with me and that label at the time because they wanted me to release something, and I just didn't want to release this specifically. I released something else instead. And then I exited from that label afterwards. And then I did a whole other version of this album throughout the past year. And worked with the female executive producer who I actually went to school with as well.
Oh,
And
brilliant.
we reinvented the entire project in a way. So, and it's much something I think everything's meant to happen for a reason. And
Oh, God. Yeah.
well, there's a song on the album called Blessing in Disguise that's all about like things happening, even if it's tumultuous at a certain time, and overcoming that in a way and being like, you look at it later that you're so glad it happened because I'm very satisfied with this current album that I'm about to release. So,
Well, that's great because, like we said before, if it is a progression of events, like you say, things are meant to be. Let's say you could see your whole timeline and where you are in progression of it. The more authentic you are as a person, and the more connected to yourself, the better the outcome. So obviously, you're feeling the most comfortable now, aren't you? What you've done
yeah.
is exactly what you want to do, and you've not rushed into it just because someone's told you to.
Exactly, yeah, I feel way more in control now, and it is very comfortable because I feel like I can breathe, and it's nice when you have that artistic control. I think, there are many artists who don't have that type of control. There's always, I feel, in every project, there is someone that's going to be watching over it where you don't get your 100 way of the time, and that's totally fine too, like, there's nothing wrong with that, but I feel with this, I was able to get a lot more say and stuff, and I knew what was going on, which is nice.
Yeah,
Sometimes that doesn't always happen. Sometimes there'll be a certain track. If I don't write the song, I'll come in. This was a case in the past where I would come in, I wouldn't know what the song is at all, and I would have to pretty much improv it in a way of how to do
really.
it. So, I feel like every song has its own way of saying, has its own language in a way, and it will come
Yeah,
out in a way that you want it with every instrumental and everything. The music will breathe itself, you know?
yeah, of
So,
course.
you can't force it a certain way. Sometimes it will just do what it wants to do.
Well, I was going to say with the writing process, when you've wrote this concept down, you've wrote everything the way you think it's going to go. Do you go into a studio and then it completely changes on its head while you're singing it?
That's that's happened multiple times. That happens all the
So you've had a
time.
proper vision of it going, yeah, it's going to have this, and then suddenly you get into the studio and oh, it's softer than I thought. How does that work?
It happens at times because sometimes we'll sing it actually the original way, and
Yeah,
then one of us, maybe like the producer will or I will give a suggestion being like, "What if we did this with it? What if we tried this with it?" Or try to sing it this way or whisper it instead of sing it, you know? So
exactly. Yes.
sometimes that will happen, and that actually I'm so glad when that happens, to be honest, because sometimes I don't like what I originally write, and sometimes I'm glad it happens that way. So,
Well, and this is the thing. How long does that process take? I mean, you don't often, because I know we're all creatives. We all don't like. We're not 100% saying to ourselves, "Oh, this is perfect." We always self-analyze and self-critical
yeah.
of everything we do. So, at what point does that stop? How do you get a gut feeling about it, or does it just ring true with the vision of the album or whatever?
Um, I would say there's no well, the whole process, it's honestly song dependent. It depends which song you're doing, and, there's a song on the album called Kings and Queens, and that one
Yeah,
was done stylistically much different than the rest, and that took extra time in a lot of ways. But there are some songs that won't take that much time. It's usually I depends on like the session really. Um, I would usually do like 3 hour sessions or something, or sometimes longer. Actually, no, no, no. I did like 3 hour sessions, then a break, then 3 hour sessions. And then that would be like a whole day in a way. But I'm always very like self-critical. Like I'm the worst at like I do not like watching my own work, truthfully, and I don't always watch my own work because I don't want to watch myself because I will criticize myself to no end and be like, no, I can do better on that. I know I could have done that. I hear that that's not perfect, and I'll pick it apart every time.
It's such I know it's such a cliche to say that all creatives such as you, or when I was in acting or whatever, we always tend to look at something and go, oh, that's not exactly how I wanted it. In either from rehearsal, you did a better take, or and they've used the
Yes.
wrong take, and there's always going to be that element of doubt, isn't there? But you've got to be comfortable with it. I mean, did you
Yeah.
watch back? Did you watch back your stint in Knock? Did you watch the whole film?
um, I watched. That's a hot take. Okay, I did watch the film,
Yeah.
but when it was my part, I would just like look away sometimes. I wouldn't be like fully there. Or I would be like I would actually turn the volume down a little bit because I don't wanna hear myself. Um, but it was fine. Like, I think objectively, it was all good and everything.
Yes.
I was happy with how it looked and everything, so
Yeah, I mean, for something, because I don't know about you, but it's all filmed. I'm guessing you filmed it and gave the footage to him, and I
yeah,
filmed a bit because I came in last minute for it and helped out Mike.
yeah.
And I got killed trying to save you, apparently.
You tried to save me, but it didn't work.
But the thing with I love the creativity behind something like that because they're all separate yet they fit and it works, and that's
Yeah.
the creative mind for you, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I've always like I feel like I've had practice because Arctic was literally that, and I did that for 8 years, so I was used to that type of, process and stuff, and, the best thing you can do with that sort of thing is, like, you just gotta I think lighting is a key thing. I went to
Yeah.
school for that and everything, and, just giving as many takes as possible and being confident with it and really know your character as well, I think is
Oh,
important.
definitely.
But, when you're watching it back yourself, you're like, "Oh, geez." Like, I actually okay, so it's like, I try to watch the premiere of the movies and stuff, and I haven't seen every Arctic episode I was in, by the way, just to be real honest here, and I was in about mind you, to be fair, I was in, like, about 80 of them, so, um,
Wow.
yeah, so it was like I didn't have time to watch them all, but,
Well, we've all got lives to lead, haven't we?
I mean, I know people who were on the cast for that that would watch every single episode they were in, and I was, like, one of those people that wouldn't do that, but,
Mm,
usually the time when I know I have to watch my work is when I do the live sessions that I do, which is, like, kinda like a tour thing, for my music and stuff, where I have to go in my back catalog in a way of music and see which, which song is best and stuff, and
yeah,
like, I have to, like, reinvent the songs in a way,
yeah,
and
yeah,
but I have to look at the old ones in order to,
yeah,
um,
yeah. Makes
work
sense.
with the new.
Because it's like you say when you're I'll say writing, but when you're in the creative process, you've got to again analyze, be critical of what's come before, but not in a way that's going to pull yourself down. Just to see the progression of where you're coming from. Because sometimes I don't know about you with writing scripts, but I mean to write something else, but I end up going off on a tangent, and it can be a little bit. It's like no, that's not the point of the scene. Get back, get back. So that's how I usually do things, really.
It takes you
So
to another world.
well, exactly. And so let's talk about more music a minute. And are you touring at the moment? Do you go from I don't know where would you perform? Or what's your live venue?
It would probably be more at, like, a club scene. I'm currently not, like, touring in live I'm looking into that actually right now to do, like, North American, touring possibly in summer of next year. We'll see
Yeah,
how that goes and everything. But I also do a thing called live sessions, which is kind of like a tour, which is like a concert performance. I've done a couple of them in the past for my past albums. So I am doing one for this one. So it's going to be the first one since in like 3 years. And I'm currently prepping a show for that at the moment.
brilliant,
So, and
brilliant.
we're going to film that soon. So it's going to be kind of like a pre-recorded concert in a way that we're hoping it's going to be on Amazon Prime, but
It's good. It's good. It's good. It's a necessary thing, isn't it? Because it reaches a wider audience and gets your music out where it needs to go, isn't it?
It does, and that's why I do those things because then it can like really it really feels like the album is complete in a way. So
I was
I enjoy that.
I was going to
So
say that the music that I've listened to of yours, it is very much it feels like a live experience, and it feels like it needs to be a live experience because I could so see myself just in the audience enjoying the moment. And do you get me?
yeah, like you want to like it's an experience, you know, and
Yeah,
I like bringing an experience to people because I not only work with universal concepts that everyone I feel can put their shoes in. You don't have to be a certain person to relate to my music in a way, but yeah, I feel like there's a vibe. Like I'm just trying to figure out like what that venue would be. Whether would it be a club? Would it be a lounge? Would it be I get stadium, what would be like that's what I'm currently like figuring it out, like what type of live performer am I? But I would definitely have theatrics and production
yeah.
value in a way where I have which you see that in my live sessions that I do a lot of that. So um, but right
I
now I'm
just
like rehearsing and stuff for that as well.
Yeah, I mean, I look forward to seeing some more, especially as you say the levels of progression that you're going on. I'm looking forward to seeing the scope of what you can bring because you're very imaginative, the way you bring things to life, and not many people have got that versatility between bringing something to life in the acting world and being consistent in the music world, and they're not really competing with each other, are they? You seem to be enjoying them, as I said before,
Yeah.
equally.
Yeah, I'm like, yeah, I'm fine with either or. Like sometimes I'll be more focused on music, sometimes I'll be focused on acting. Luckily, I have like two projects right now. Like I have Knock and then I have Vertigo right now. So it's like I also didn't do them at the same time either, so that helps. So
Also, you
I
have
plan
the
my
brain
time.
power.
Brain power. Well, I manage my time very well because I did Knock in the summer or spring of that last year, and then I did all the stuff for the album Vertigo in just 2021, and then early 2022 is when we finished recording the album. So, so throughout the summer, I was just working on Knock, and it was just perfect timing and stuff for that sort of thing. Whereas before, when I did my previous albums, I'd be promoting Arctic, like
Yeah.
the new season of Arctic usually is how it would go, and then I would have a new album usually, and they would be done kind of around the same time, except with Arctic, it wasn't like a movie where it's like it's this long. It was only a 15-minute show, so the script was pretty easy, and I understood how to do it, and I was very driven to do it too.
And
So
you take it in. Seem to process information in the way you should do when it comes to your line reading, recalling stuff, and how you read information and how. Let's say you had an audition, you got a
yeah.
script, and it lands in your email. Learn this by tomorrow. It's like 5 to 10 pages. What are you going to do? Can you do that?
I probably could do that if I would just have to like really just with memorizing stuff and everything. I actually have my own way of doing it. I usually to memorize something, I usually relate it to something I would know in a way
Hmm.
and think about that's what comes next. This is what comes next. I know for sure it's not always 100. I'm someone that takes the script as a guideline, and
Yeah.
then I have my own. And sometimes I do my own interpretation of it in a way that's better, and the people will like it in a way. And sometimes they don't like it, but
It's their bad, isn't it? I mean, that's the whole point in the process, isn't it? It's about finding what works and what doesn't. And if they don't like it, it's tough. It's their film. But I know
yeah,
sometimes where I've auditioned bringing, let's say one role I did was a soldier, and their
Mm.
original vision for the soldier was he was a bit more, guarded, hard exterior. I introduced a softer exterior, which is more emotional, and he liked it. But he wanted me to be a bit more tough in certain ways, and I couldn't do it, so I didn't get the part.
Oh.
But they changed the part to be more sensitive, so I made an impact on the part, even though I didn't get to play it.
Oh, that's
Which is
so
a,
good.
which is a,
That's
but
actually so
that's
really
that's that's the way you do it. You approach anything with that vision, that unique vision that only you can do.
Yeah, exactly, and I actually did that a lot for my time at Arctic, where it was actually very encouraged to do improv a lot of the time, so myself and other actors would sometimes not always do strictly to the script, and they would go with the improv usually, and they like that even better than the original script, which is really great to have that creative freedom with
Oh
that
God,
in a
yeah,
way. So it
yeah.
was very encouraging, and I think it was helpful because a lot of the people that worked on that show it was their first time acting, and that helped them get through it and everything.
Which is always good. It's always good for people to look up to someone who's at a good, solid base of level of understanding, because people always need a hand up, don't they, to match a certain way of doing things. Because you see a lot of bad acting going on in Hollywood at the moment, or in general, people seem to be sort of lazy in their approach, and it's not very good to watch, is it?
Yeah.
When you see a bad bit of acting.
It's very
Um,
one-dimensional.
yeah, they don't dig deep enough, to be fair. And, I mean, this is the thing, there's a lot of really good stuff coming from the short film world now, which I'm supposing you're going to go into as well as your music. So, what's your
Mhm.
plan in the acting world then before we move back onto music? What do you have a goal? Do you have a part, any part you want to play? I know you said horror before, so expand on that.
Um, like, I would like to play more villain roles, truthfully, like, I think that
Really?
would be fun. Yeah, I think that
What's
would be
that?
fun.
Stroking your cat.
Yeah. Someone that, like, stirs the pot or something, because I think those are, like, the
Oh,
most
okay.
fun I think those are the most fun roles to do in a way, and, like,
Oh, definitely.
because you get a really I might do some more comedy with that as well because with a current untitled project that might be happening soon, I might get to do more of that. Can't say too much about that, but
I know.
I might be,
I'm not trying to get information out of you. I'm,
but
I'm being diplomatic.
there is a project where I will be possibly playing a pot stirrer more. So that might be,
Oh
but it
God.
won't be for horror. But I also would like to do a role of a famous person that we're talking about for a film of a famous person, but as in a different way, in a different type of world. Um, that's really well known. That's dead now, but where I'm going to be playing her, and that has a lot of twists and turns to it as well. So
Oh, I do love that idea of being, because some people, especially nowadays, villains, they see villains as ha ha ha, sort of
yeah,
idea of a cartoonish villain. But the best villains are the ones you look behind the eyes, and it becomes something where you're wondering what that guy's thinking or that person's thinking, and why are they motivated to do the things they do. And they're the most fascinating characters to play, because there's a
yeah,
challenge involved, isn't there?
yeah, because it's more of a psychological thing. So it's more like
Exactly.
real and relatable. It's not like staged in a way because that doesn't always land the way they think it lands. But
No, exactly. You can't just play, let's say, the character the Joker with a laugh and expect it to be
oh
deep.
yeah,
You've got to play it with depth and with the uniqueness, like we said before, of what you can bring. But back to your music a minute. Your album, if I remember right, you say your album's out December.
yeah,
Is that
December
right?
9th.
So it's
December 9th.
so it's not far off. So obviously we'll have to whip this out very quickly then, or coincide it. So how excited are you to have it all finally out and about and floating about? Are you nervous, or you just want to let it fly?
I think it's like very like surreal in a way because it's like this has been like whenever there's like album releases, I'm just like I can't believe like I go in this like surreal like mode where I'm just like, is this really happening? Like it's gonna happen tonight or whatnot. And I'm really excited. I'm really interested to hear what people think because I think they're gonna see a different side of me. So um,
Well,
it's really it's
I noticed on your comments to the YouTube video you had up for your music video, there were a lot of good supportive comments there, saying that this is great, that this is the best one you've brought out. I think one of the comments said, and it's supportive, isn't it? And that fires you up for more, doesn't it?
it does, and I've actually gotten that reaction in person as well, like quite a few times. Like a few people that like know me know, like they're like, "This is your best work ever." Like literally, like that's what everyone has
Ah,
said. So
that's
it's
great
really like inspiring to hear that.
because it's the latest thing, and it's also progress, and it's also validating to you to see that doing so well, and then your next album will be another leap up. And I'm not hoping, I know that it will do really well. Like I said to you before, the one that sticks out to me is Visions of You, because the tone of it, it just really gets. I've listened to it 3 times because I like what it instills in me. It instills a
Yeah.
sense of enjoyment. I enjoy it. I enjoy listening to it, and that's where I think the Pet Shop Boys came up. And you said before about 80s and early 90s for Kylie. That's what stuck out to me. The sound, the synthesized nature of the music. It's my era, actually, to be fair, because I grew up in that era, so no wonder I like
Yeah.
it. It's my sort of thing. But
Yeah.
so December the 9th, it's going to be released, and where can people buy it? Because I'm from the UK, so I'm not too sure how people get a copy of it from the UK. So tell me where you can get it.
You can get it on my website, sarahtozen.com. That's a CD. And then you can also, it's on the streaming, all digital streaming platforms,
Oh, so it's on like
Spotify,
Spotify.
Apple Music, YouTube Music, any type of digital, like streaming, all digital streaming platforms, really. So it can be anyone, even if you're in a different country and use a completely different streaming platform. I'm pretty sure 95%, I'm sure it will be there.
Well, that makes it far easier then, because I was going to say about I'm still stuck in the past with CDs. Like, where can I get a copy of the CD?
I have so much. Yeah, I love CDs, so I understand physical copies and how I wish physical copies were more prominent now, because I grew up in that era too, where it's like CDs are everything. So
yeah, and the previous era was all vinyl, and my mum and dad going, smell that, and feeling the big vinyl. I was like, I get it now because I'm a bit older, but back then I was like, go away with your bloody vinyl. But I understand it
they
now
would have a
because it's
certain
got.
smell to them. They would always
Yeah.
smell a certain way that comes from the basement.
You went basements.
And I like them. I like how big those are as well. So, like,
Yeah,
just
you get
album artwork in
a
general.
commemorative copy of like one of your albums. You're going to get a vinyl.
I think there's
just,
one that's on vinyl actually, but it's not
is it?
this one. But
Ah,
I don't know if it's sold on vinyl anymore. But
we should get that. You should get that done. It'd be good to have it up as a commemorative thing.
I would love to do like a vinyl release of all of them. So.
Oh God,
And
you
because
must.
I think they're all on CD, and one of them was on cassette as well too.
Cassette. Oh, I forgot. I didn't even think of cassette.
Yeah, they people still do cassettes still. So sometimes
I used to love playing with cassettes.
I broke all of those. I always would break those, like
Why
because
would
like
you
when you
do?
rewind it, I would touch the thing and it wouldn't be rewinded enough, so I would manually go in and just like try to move it, and then it would screw the whole thing up.
Well, you mustn't have. Well, Bruno Mars sod his up at the wall, didn't he, when he was ripping it up on that video? Ruined it.
That's a whole thing. That's a whole thing.
So I was thinking of the UK actually before we end, because we've been talking for 50 minutes nearly.
Oh,
That's
really?
gone by quick. That's amazing.
Quick.
UK, are you coming over?
I would love to. I hopefully will do like European like touring too. Like I would love to do that one day and just visit there and just see what that's going to be like. Because I think I'll definitely be there at some point. And I love the music. Yeah, and I also like a lot of my music more so is popular in Europe and Asia than it is in North America. So
Makes
feel
sense.
like I feel like my sound works better over there than in North America in a way. Not that I have anything against the North American audience, but I've always gone more like there's a few radio stations that I heard playing my music in Germany and the Netherlands and
Ah.
Sweden and stuff. So that's where it seems more popular. But I also like the UK too. So
Well, the thing is that the old cliche is that you use the UK as a springboard, and then America finally catches up with the good idea because America seems to sort of go, oh, and then they look back. Do you know what I mean? And go, oh, I'll steal that
yeah,
idea. That's what they always tend to do. That's why,
yeah, because
like Adele, the Beatles, they all, came from
Ed
the
wasn't
UK.
Ed Sheeran from UK as well.
Yeah, from he
Yeah.
was a busker on the street, if I remember right. I don't know too much about
Okay.
his backstory, but he again naturally gifted, able
Yeah.
to sort of use his talent in the UK. He got a good following in the UK, and then suddenly America takes notice. So sometimes it works that way. Get into the
Yeah.
music industry here, springs back that way. That's the way it works.
That is
But
the way. And well, like a lot of the producers I worked with in the past actually were from Europe and stuff. Like a lot of my were produced in Europe and stuff. So it
we
makes
love it.
sense.
We love it. We love a good pop. It's not really pop. How would you describe it? It's indie. What
Indie
would you
pop, I
describe
guess.
it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Indie
yeah, yeah.
pop
I mean,
dance, like that genre.
to me, it's exactly the sort of music that the UK market loves. We love that sort of
Yeah.
music because we like a good tune to sit off on or dance to. Anything that sort of strikes a balance between different genres works well for us, and so we get obsessed by it. And
Yeah.
I
You
reckon
guys
that.
have taste. You guys have
Oh,
taste. Because like
well,
don't even get me started on like okay, I won't say anything bad about North America, but I do prefer the international taste over what's going on in North America, where I don't feel there's as much variety and stuff in
yeah, I
terms of
think
the pop
American
industry.
American audience, the American, not slagging them off, but it's very sanitized at times. It can be very sanitized
Yeah,
and linear, whereas we're in say the UK, where we experiment more. We just do
yeah,
things and see how they stick. And more often than not, we have the gem of an idea, and then it's sort of taken over to America. TV shows like The Office and stuff were born in the UK and taken there.
yeah,
You know, that's what happens. Whose Lines It Anyway was another one. A lot of great ideas come from Europe and they're taken there. And I think the UK music industry is crying out for more music of your caliber too, because it's so
oh,
refreshing. Do you get me?
yeah, I get it. Like it fits that narrative. Like my music is more of like an international type. It's more festive in a way, I would say, especially the music I'm doing now. Before I did more commercialized stuff, but now I'm just like, this is a completely different. This is kind of the artistry I want to go in and stuff. And so I understand why it would be more popular there, just from what I've noticed, based in terms of results that I'm getting. Like I said, like there are like a lot of those like Eastern European countries and the Asian countries like Japan, Thailand specifically, they will play this music to no end on their radio stations. I get told about that a lot. So it makes sense that's the case. And like there are so many artists that I see that are prominently more international,
Yeah.
and then I see a pop artist do it in a way, and it's like I know where you got that from.
Yeah. And but please come over to the UK, and
Yeah.
you're more than welcome to come over. I'll come and chaperone you. I'll
Oh,
show you
thank
around
you.
and
Oh, thank
introduce
you.
you. And I've been to
Yeah.
Amsterdam too. Amsterdam's amazing. If you ever want to go to Amsterdam, it's beautiful
Oh my
there.
god.
I love it there. I love Brighton as well. I'm going to Brighton next week, which is in the south of the UK, and that's beautiful too. Very, very liberal, relaxed, calm. Not at the weekends, of course, but uh, open to everyone, and I love that
That's so
about
good.
Brighton. So if you ever do come, give us a wave, and I'll wave back. So if
Thank
you
you
ever do
so
go, let us
much.
know. But I'm going to wrap up the interview now
Okay.
before we go on for another hour because we could do, but
We could.
it's well past midnight, so I've got to go to bed unfortunately.
Gotta go to bed. Yeah, that's
But
totally
thank you
fair.
so much for joining me after so long, and congratulations on the album
Thank
release on the
you.
9th. And I'll aim to have this out before so I can get my audience acquainted to you and get to know you.
Perfect. Thank
So
you so
have
much.
have a great what time is it there actually?
It's 5. It's 5. It's not
Oh,
midnight, but it's 5. So
you've
I still
still
have
got all
time.
that. Yeah, go and enjoy yourself. And while I sleep. So
I
say
probably will
goodbye.
just like lay down after this. I'm not gonna lie.
Oh, I've not roughed you up too much.
No, it's okay. It's snowing outside, so I'd rather be inside than outside.
Oh, we never get snow here. It's all sludgy and wet. It's
Oh,
rubbish.
I'd rather actually have that because at least you can go outside.
Well, you're sort of on the same line of longitude as us, but we've got the Gulf Stream messing up all our cold weather, so we get milder
Mm,
climates. So,
that makes
mm,
sense.
it's always wet here. Anyway, say goodbye, sir.
Okay, thank you so much for having me. It's been so much fun.
Oh, no problem. And take care of yourself and good luck with the album.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.